6th Standard, Term 3, Unit 1, Supplementary. A Childhood in Malabar, a Memoir. It was someone's birthday at Ambarathel. I'm not sure whose, the day there was a cyclone. At 10, my elder brother and I were invited to the feast there that day. Malati Kutti took us to the Serpent Shrine before lunch. We watched Meenakshi Edatti setting out turmeric, milk, and bananas for the snakes. Meenakshi Edatti was a distant relative of Ambarathel family. Being poor, she was dependent on her generosity. She was dark-skinned and middle-aged. She spent her time rushing around the house and compound, never stopping to rest. Her face perpetually wearing an expression that asked for forgiveness. She had only certain trivial duties to perform, like welcoming the oracles with an offering of paddy when he came in a procession, lighting all the lamps at dusk, churning the curd and taking out the butter for the children, and drawing designs with rice batter on the door on the day of Neera festival. There were innumerable servants to carry out all other tasks. However, the family could not have existed happily for a single day without Meenakshi Edatti. She was the only one who knew how much paddy should be boiled each time to make enough rice for the household, or how many mundas had been given to the washerman, or when to give the children a purgative. "Why isn't the snake coming?" I asked. "Snakes never come out when human beings are watching, child. The black Krishna Sarpam will glide out as soon as we go away," said Meenakshi Edatti. I began to feel sleepy after lunch. Malati Kutti came back with us to Nallapattu. Barely an hour after we got home, we heard the sound of the gale. The wind tore through the coconut palms in the southern compound with a frightening roar. The dry leaves that had collected around the pond swirled upward belligerently. Branches shook. The seat of the swing that hung from the ilanji tree fell down. "I wonder whether it's a cyclone. The sound of it scares me," said Amama. She asked all of us to sit down in the middle room upstairs and gave us metal dice to play with. Since the light had grown dim, she lit a brass lamp as well. Muttasi called out from the tekkini, the southern room downstairs. "Have you closed all the small windows, Kochu?" "I'll close them, Ammi. I'll close all of them," answered Amama. We suddenly heard the sound of the rain from the southwest, like the roar of a vast crowd of people. Using all her force, Amama slammed the windows shut. Raindrops glimmered on her face. "It's not even 4, but it's pitch dark outside," said Amama. "I want to see Kutti Oppu," said Malati Kutti. "She will come by dusk," said Amama. "I want to go to Ambarathel now, this minute," said Malatikutty. "I'll send you to Ambarathel as soon as the storm stops." Amama tried to comfort her, but Malatikutty began to sob loudly. That was when we heard a coconut palm crashing down. "Kochu, what was that? Will the house collapse?" That was Muttasi. "Don't worry, it was a coconut palm falling. We'll go and have a look at it once the rain stops. Let's say our prayers and sit here quietly," said Amama. All of us took shelter in the southern room downstairs as Amama's mother instructed us to do. She said this room had a strongest ceiling. The tekkini was flooded, and the water that had collected in the sunken courtyard of the Nalukettu, the central hall with 4 wooded pillars, began to overflow. Amama and all of us sat on the bed. Amama and the grandmothers sat on the rolled up mattresses staked on the floor, and the servant woman took refuge in the makeshift toilet adjacent to the room. Ammai arrived, drenched to the skin, unmindful of the thunder and lightning and driving rain. How can you be so foolish, Bala? What if you fall ill of a fever? Asked Amama. Ammai laughed. Yours, Kutti Oppu, exclaimed Malati Kutti joyfully. Ammai hugged her. Cherry Amma suggested that we chant Akshara Slokam to forget our fears. Each one of us would have to recite a verse, and the next person would follow with a verse that began with the first letter of the third line of the quatrain that had just been chanted. No one volunteered though. So Cheriyamma recited from Valatol's Imprisoned Anirudan. Amama said, I can't remember a single couplet. I hope the house doesn't collapse, murmured Mutasi. As soon as Amama and Amai went upstairs, the servant woman started to wail loudly. She kept hitting her head with her hands while she wailed. What madness is this? Do you want to break open your head? Said Amama. What if I never see my folks again? My Guruvayurappa, I'll never see them again. You can go home tomorrow morning as soon as the rain stops, all right? Said Mutasi. This rain will never stop. It's a whirlwind, isn't it? We all die, sobbed the woman. Is she crazy? Asked Mutasi. We heard trees crashing to the ground and a dog whining in the western yard. Ayyo Sankara, what if the cow shed crumbles? Bring the cows in and tie them up in the washing area outside the kitchen, said Amama. The cow shed won't fall down, Valliyamma. Its beams are quite strong, said Sankaran Nair, who had gone to check things out. Then let the cow stay there. There is a knee-deep water in the yard now, said Sankaran. We want to swim, I cried. You can swim in the courtyard of the Nallukettu, said Ettan. I put my hand into the water in the courtyard. It's ice cold, I grumbled. Don't play in the water, children, Amama called out loudly. We climbed back on the bed. Someone seemed to be knocking on the door on the southern side. Sankaran opened it. A dog stood on the veranda, dripping wet Thambi, the black and white pet dog from Ambaratel. Look, here's Thambi. He's drenched. Poor thing, he must have come out with Balamani Amma, said Sankaran. We looked at Thambi and he looked at us. He was shivering in the cold. Sankaran spread a gunny bag on the veranda. Lie down on this. In a storm like this, how can we make a difference between a man and a dog? Go to sleep, Thambi. Thambi lay down on the gunny bags and looked contentedly at me and my brother. We spent the whole night in the southern room. By the time we woke up, the rain had stopped. It was the sound of a pleading voice saying, Please open the gate, that actually woke me. A young man stood smiling in the waist-high water at the gate. I'm from Vadakera. Is everyone here all right? Yes, said Amama. We've had no casualties. How did you come, Balan? I started out at daybreak and waded through the water. That's really smart. The number of huts and trees that have collapsed. Fowls laying dead everywhere, dead goats floating in the water. What a sight. Come in, Balan, and change your mundu. Have they sent us anything from Vadakera? Murukus or dates? I asked. No, child, I've come empty-handed, said Balan, displaying his buck teeth. What a time to ask for murukus and dates, muttered Ammama's mother. I hung my head ashamed. By Kamala Das. Glossary. Edati, brother's wife. Ettan, elder's brother. Ammama, mother's mother. Mutasi, father's mother. Tekkini, backyard. Ammayi, mother-in-law. Cheriyamma, chitti. Amamma, maternal uncle.